Hello and welcome to Get Decked, the video series where I make budget Magic the Gathering decks for your casual games night and to help introduce friends and family members to the game. So carrying on with the Planeswalkers for Pennies series here, and this one is called Chandra's Chargrill. So again, no prizes for guessing who the flagship Planeswalker in the deck is. Although there are actually a couple of Planeswalkers in the deck. So yeah, we'll see as we get into it. So quickly remind ourselves of the rules for Get Decked. These decks are 60 cards. They're designed for 1v1 games. There's no format restrictions. We use mostly commons and uncommons. No cards that cost more than $2 at time recording. Limit ourselves to 12 different non-land cards for a good mix of variety and consistency. Strong themes, low to mid complexity, so it's easy for a player who's less experienced or has less familiarity with Magic to pick up and play and just have a good time. But just because it's a casual deck doesn't mean it has to be weak or bad. So let's take a look at the deck list. We've got 18 creatures, 8 sorceries, 5 planeswalkers as opposed to 3. Some of the others have got 3 enchantments, 3 instants, and then 23 land. Got a mana curve off to the side there. So let's also quickly remind ourselves how we look at the decks here. So we talk about how we're winning. So this is the actual win condition of the deck. What helps us win, ways to support the win condition, and then what stops them winning, which is ways we can interact with and disrupt the opponent. So, and as a disclaimer, it's all hypothetical. I've not built the deck, I've not played it, so can't guarantee how good it would actually be. However, this one is actually based on a mono red deck I used to run back in the day. So I can actually say with a little bit of authority this works out pretty well. But yeah, with the newer cards, it might be even better. So we'll see. You'll have to build it yourself and go away and play it and see how it works out. So the Planeswalker you're using for this deck is Chandra, Torch of Defiance. So 2 in double red for a 4 loyalty Planeswalker. One of the rare Planeswalkers with 4 abilities. And it's crazy that Chandra, Torch of Defiance is like a budget card. Like she's she's around $2, maybe just under. She's had a few reprints to be fair, but yeah, it's crazy. When Kaladesh came out, this was one of the big money cards because a 4 loyalty Planeswalker is obviously pretty good. I think up until when Chandra Torch Defiance came out, I think the only other 4 ability Planeswalker had been Jace Mind Sculptor, and maybe one other that I can't think off the top of my head. Maybe one of the Nicole Balasses, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, Chandra Torch Defiance. So 2 in double red for 4 loyalty. +1 is to exile the top card of your library. You may cast it, and if you don't, it does 2 damage to each opponent, which is pretty good because if you hit a land, that's just straight up 2 damage. A big thing of the deck is doing burn damage to opponents. It is a red burn deck and ways, and cards that basically benefit from burn damage. Or her other +1 is to add double red. So if you want to, this is the old Garrick Wildspeaker math of like, really, Chandra only cost me 2 mana because she immediately added 2 mana back. So really, she only costs 2 red mana to cast. So there we go. -3 does 4 damage to a creature, which is like a nice solid amount of damage. And her -7 is you get an emblem with whenever you cast a spell, the emblem does 5 damage for any target, which is just super good, isn't it? Because by the time you get the emblem out, you probably only then need to cast one more spell. The amount of burn damage you've been chucking out. So yeah, so Chandra is the face of the deck. So we're going to talk about how we're winning. So these are the other options we've got. So we've got 4 Cinder Pyromancers, 2 in a red for a 0/1. Taps do 1 damage to target player, and whenever you play a red spell, you can untap Cinder Pyromancer. So if you just throw out a bunch of spells out in a turn, he becomes a bit of a machine gun. He can kick out a surprising amount of damage, because it's so nice to go tap, cast a spell, tap, do another damage, cast another spell, tap, do another damage. So he benefits from any red spell, and then you've got his kind of like partner in crime, Thermo Alchemist. So 1 red for a 0/3 defender. Taps do 1 damage to each opponent. So, I mean, if you did want to play multiplayer, Thermo Alchemist is a little better because he does hit every opponent at least. And whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you untap Thermo Alchemist. So these two together are just kind of like ping machine guns. Just maybe multiple untaps a turn, just kicking out this kind of direct damage to the opponent, which is pretty cool. And then we got the things that really want you to ping. So we've got 3 Chandra Spitfire, so 2 in red for a 1/3 with flying. Whenever an opponent is dealt non-combat damage, Chandra Spitfire gets +3/+0 to land a 10. If only we had a bunch of creatures that like pinging, like the Cinder Pyromancer and the Thermo Alchemist. So yeah, this is actually even better actually with the Thermo Alchemist, and if you were playing multiplayer, because it triggers off each opponent. So if saying you're playing, you might be playing like a 4-player game, one activation of the Thermo Alchemist is going to give Chandra Spitfire +9/+0, which is absolutely crazy. And it means that it can just hit so hard without really that much effort. There is like a newer version of Chandra Spitfire with new art. This is the version I used to use when I was playing the most, like around M11 days. So this is my preferred art for it, but there is a more up-to-date printing of it. And then sort of similar to Chandra Spitfire, we've got Chandra's Piling. So this is also an important difference. So Chandra's Piling also triggers off non-combat damage, but it has to be a source you control dealing non-combat damage to an opponent, whereas Chandra Spitfire is just whenever an opponent is dealt non-combat damage from anywhere, which can matter again if you're playing like multiplayer games, or if like an opponent has something that means they have to do damage themselves. So it does matter. But Chandra's Piling, very similar. When an opponent gets dealt non-combat damage, it gets +1/+0 and gains double strike until end of turn. So between Chandra's Spitfire and Chandra's Piling, these, for their cost, they can potentially kick out so much damage. It's crazy. And then we've got 2 Wildfire Elementals, 2 and double red for 3/3. Wherever an opponent is dealt non-combat damage, all creatures you control get +1/+0 to end turn. So obviously that really helps Piling, helps Spitfire, helps the Wildfire Elemental. Helps Cinder Pyromancer because the Thermo Alchemist's got Defender, but potentially means that Cinder Pyromancer can attack as well. So yeah, a whole bunch of things that trigger off non-combat damage. I thought that would just be like a really fun theme for a deck. So now we're going to talk about what helps us win. So we've got 2 Jaya Venerated Fire Mage, so this other Planeswalker in the deck. So 4 and a red for 5 loyalty. If another red source you control would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals that much damage +1 instead. So now the Cinder Pyromancers are doing 2 damage on a ping. Same with the Thermo Alchemist. Basically everything is doing +1 extra damage, which is great. And then Jaya herself has a -2 ability to do 2 damage to any target, but because her ability is actually 3 damage, which is nice because it references Jaya's old, sync to spells, like Incinerate and stuff, where she used to be on flavor text for before Chandra. There was Jaya. Jaya was the Chandra before Chandra. Right, and then we got 3 quests for Pure Flame. So 1 red. Enchantment goes down. I'm going to repeat my gripe that I hate that these are not. They could have done quest as a subtype of enchantment. It would have been great, but it is what it is. So when a resource you control deals damage to an opponent, we've got a bunch of that. You put a quest counter on Quest for Pure Flame. You can remove 4 quest counters from Quest of Pure Flame and sacrifice it. And then if any source you control would deal damage to a creature or player this turn, it does double that damage instead. So this should be super easy to build up, right? Because it's a 1-drop. Potentially play it turn 1. Get all your ping spells, all your burn spells. And build this up, and then you just have a turn, you pop it, you just go Nova, you do double damage for a turn. Super, super good. And then we're going to talk about what stops them winning. So this is just more kind of like removal options. We're playing red, so we obviously got like some burn options here. So we've got 3 Flame Tongue Cafoos, 3 in red for a 4/2. Again, there is a more updated version with different art. This is the art I like the most, this kind of classic invasion era art. So 3 in red for 4/2. When it ends the battle, it does 4 damage to target creature, which is just really, really solid, I think. Especially considering at the time Flame Tongue Cavoo was printed, like in original like invasion block, where creatures were just not as efficient. This being 4 mana for a 4/2, doing 4 damage to a creature when it comes in with like no drawback is like really, really strong. But yeah, this obviously just kills a lot of creatures when it comes in. It's really, really good. And then we've got 4 Incendiary Flows, 1 in red. It does 3 damage to a creature or player, and if a creature that dealt damage this way would die, it gets exiled instead. Just a little extra burn here to hit anything, and also that tack on that exile effect as well. So yeah, and nice and cheap as well. So potentially cast this and something else. Basically, we wanted to get as many untaps out of Thermo Alchemist and the Cinder Pyromancer as possible. Right, and then we've got 4 Fiery Confluence, 2 in double red. You choose 3. You can choose the same mode more than once. It either does 1 damage to each creature, 2 damage to each opponent, or you destroy target artifact. Now, the nice thing about this is you can choose the same option more than once. The thing is, though, if you've got Quest for Pure Flame, you've got Jaya out, you got the Cinder Pyromancer, not the Pyromancer, the Spitfire or the Piling, anything like that. Each of these counts as a separate trigger of damage. So if you do the 2 damage to each opponent, if you do that 3 times, it's not 6 damage. It's 3 lots of 2. Which means Jaya turns it into 3 lots of 3. It's 3 triggers off Quest for Pure Flame. It's 3 triggers for Spitfire. It's 3 triggers for Piling. So yeah, super good. Suddenly, huge burst of damage potentially out of nowhere. So yeah, Fiery Confluence is really nice. Had to have 4 of them in there because of that, because it interacts so nicely with all the things that care about doing non-combat damage and like multiplying it and getting triggers off it and all that kind of good stuff. And then finally, 3 Barge In. Now, when I put the deck together, I was not expecting to put this in, but it works so well. So, nice, cheap bus spell, which is good because then it's a nice cheap bus spell to untap Thermo Alchemist and Cinder Pyromancer. Target attacking creature gets +2/+2 to end of turn. More importantly, each attacking non-human creature gets trample until end of turn. Now, the Spitfire and the Piling can potentially get absolutely huge, because they're non-combat triggers and stuff. But neither of them have trample, so there's potential they get chump blocked and waste all that power. But you give them trample. Then suddenly you've got like Spitfire, which is a huge creature in the air with trample. Piling is then a huge double striker with trample. Yeah, it's great, I think. So yeah, Barge In I think fits in really, really well into this deck just to make those two creatures like a hell of a lot better. So yeah, really, really like this inclusion. It was a surprise find, if I'm honest. And then we're going to quickly talk about mana base. So we've got 3 Blighted Gorges. So it gives you colorless, and you pay 4 in red, tap and sacrifice to do 2 damage to a creature or player. It's just a little extra option for some burn damage there. We've got 3 Forgotten Caves. Enters tapped. Taps to give you red, or you can cycle it for 1 red. I thought the cycling is more important in the stack. You just want like way to get more cards and stuff because you've got a few pieces in here that are kind of vital that you want to get to, and then just 17 mountains. So I'd love to know what you think about this this burn deck. I mean, with a bit of a twist, doing something a bit more interesting than just pure red burn. It is doing some I think some fun things with the non-combat damage and some of Chandra's kind of signature creatures. So I'd love to know what you think. If there are any changes you would make, if you wanted to put more money into the deck, like what would you include? What would you take out? Is it a deck that you like the look of? What do you think about those? I would like to see more red creatures get triggers off non-combat damage because like it's such an obvious thing, right? Because red obviously does burn all the time. It'd be fun to have more red creatures that get benefits from doing non-combat damage, but that's a discussion for another time. In any case, stick a comment down below with what you think. I'd love to hear people's thoughts about this one. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff, and I will see you next time. I'll do another Planeswalkers for Pennies Get Decked video. So until then, thanks for watching and listening, and have a great day.